Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Greetings. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining this session. On behalf of this team, I would like to welcome everyone to Engineering Ethics and OSHE interview session. So first of all, I would like to introduce myself and team members. I am AIMAN SAFWAN, and the rest is SYARIFUDDIN and Ammar Syafi. Also together with us tonight is Mr. Muhammad Nizam bin Ahmad, Engineering Officer at Pascon Sdn Bhd Penang. Welcome and thank you for joining us tonight, sir. Before that, can you share a little bit background, maybe some of your work experience and your job scope?
My working experience in a restaurant just this was 12 years ago. Then under engineering department as a industrial engineering job, my scope to cover the customer specifications and prepare the technical drawing for production. Always doing before I'm doing the drawing or something like that, I'm using a 3D software to produce the modeling actually for the customer and production fabrication.
Can you elaborate? What is the ethical responsibility of an engineer?
Okay. First of all, we have to know the definition of the professional engineer. So the professional engineer can be referred ability or competency based on their knowledge, training or expertise. Example, example for the civil, mechanical and engineering. Wherever he responsible to create, to make or using the machine or machinery depend on the specific their knowledge.
So for the next question, what are some of the most important qualities for an ethics engineer to have?
Okay. Suppose the engineer, you have I think a more a bit 3 to 5. You have to know the ethic quality inside the engineer. You must have this one. Firstly, I want to explain. Maybe you can take a problem solving skill. You have problem solving skill.
Okay, so for the next question, number 3, what are your engineering ethics sense based on your experience? Like what kind of experience do you feel that you face during your work and that relates to the engineering ethics?
That normally my main job is to provide for product specification for customer. So sometimes employer insists to produce the product, because about the costing. Then without any sometimes the customer concern. So if you don't follow, don't follow the instruction, maybe there's a very trouble. Maybe blacklist or very worse. Maybe you will be fired.
The engineer, as we know, has a duty of care under a common law. So can you explain the statement based on your experience as an engineer?
My experience, before customer make order, so basically we have to provide the technical specification. So with a design process, we following the at least a common law and we get a customer requirement also.
In your opinion, how do you think that engineer can perform their duties honorably, responsibly, ethically, and lawfully?
You can refer the principle of responsibility. For example, you have to prioritize the safety and health and welfare of the surrounding community. Secondly, you have to carry out the the duty honestly, responsible, based on ethics.
Together with us, we have Mr. Daniel Fikri, Muhammad Saleh Fikri, project engineer at AFAJ in Energy System France.
Hello and Assalamualaikum. My name is Daniel. I am currently working as project manager / project engineer for one of company called AFAJ Energy System. Actually, it is a French company that specializes in construction and electrical installation.
The first question is, based on your experience, can you share with us about a time that you were challenged ethically and how you handle it?
The basic ethics at work, because when working, for example, you know that we are I have a mindset that I'm representing Malaysia in general, representing my religion, so I give it my best and try to work as honestly as possible. Okay, because I'm not just showing showing how Malaysian works to the French or European, for example. So I try to show my best, how I handle work, how to handle things honestly, working how to say, with passion, showing that we as a Malaysian in general works very hard and works very good.
Yeah.
But when it comes to working in a foreign country like France, how have you managed to communicate and work with their culture?
Their working culture and their culture in general is very different from Asia. So you have to learn how to respect that culture. At the same time, doesn't lose your own identity. As you know what I mean, because our study or working culture is very different than them. They like someone to be very reactive. For example, when you are working, when you are studying in university, etc., most of Malaysian students tend to keep quiet and never ask questions. Okay, because that is our culture. Our culture is that you keep quiet and you just listen. However, most of the European students are working in culture. They are very reactive. They ask questions, but sometimes they were very rude. So that's not. It's another subject. And their work culture is very different. Their eating culture, their point of view of the world is very different than us. So for me, you have to learn how to respect them. At the same time, doesn't lose your identity. Okay.
So the question number 3, the engineer has a duty of care under the common law. So can you explain the statement based your experience? Like, we know that all the engineer have this kind of board of engineer that have a code of conduct. So how you explain this statement based your experience?
To respond to your question, the way engineers in Malaysia and France work is very different, because in France, once you finish your study in French, they have something called the School of Engineering. You have a special certificate that once you finish that School of Engineering, you will have a special degree that is equivalent to master degree. What is that saying is that once you get that degree, you're automatically an engineer. You don't need to even to actually register or so on. Like Malaysia, once you have obtained your degree, your bachelor degree or your master degree or so on, you need to actually register. In France, they don't have that sort of thing. When you have a degree, you are by law, you're already an engineer. Experience working as a project manager, rather I have to care to most of my underlings, the one that is under me, such as my work conductor, my construction workers, and so on. So I need to protect them under the law. If don't, I will go directly to prison. So it's actually quite a heavy duty for me.
For the next question, so it's still in the concept of ethic. So how do you think engineer can perform their duties honorably, responsibly, ethically, and lawfully?
For me, as we have a lot of how to say input in our how to say in ourselves. We have mostly we have religion. Yes. So I don't know whether you agree or not. We have religion that told us to give our best, to work as honestly as possible. So that is one of the pillars that you can use to apply to yourself. And second, you have a law. Your law also once you have your another one, you also have your individual how the sentiments. So in order to work to perform your duties, you have to based on these three pillars and try to do it as best as possible. For me, for example, because I am Malaysian in France, I representing Malaysian, Asian in general, Asian culture in general. I try to show that we are a better person than them. So I have to show the best, to show to them that I work as hard as possible, as I would say it honorably, responsibly, ethically, as once you state in the question, because I try to represent something. I'm representing myself as ambassador of Malaysia, Asian, and the one that is different than them. Another one that as a Muslim, they have a very bad point of view of us. You know, as a French, there were a lot of problems regarding Muslims. So I want to show them that I'm not one of them. So I try to do my best.
And what are your expectations towards the fresh graduate engineers to face the real life industry after?
For me, as a fresh grad, first of all, you have to be ready to accept greater challenges, because studying is very different than working. That is my honest opinion. Because in study, they mostly have a certain, how to say, you're just following the how to do it. Something you have something, you have a task. For example, they already show you from A to Z. But when you're working, you are actually adapting yourself to a certain problematic. So so it is no longer you need a lecturer to actually show you from A to Z. So when you're working, you're actually by yourself. Okay, you no longer have someone to guide you, to show you, to give you a silver spoon every time you're working. No, when you're working, you need to actually think of the problem yourself. That is one one thing that I could tell you. Another one is you have to open yourself to a new possibility and learn something new. You have to be curious, because you as a fresh engineer, you have for now you still have how to say, you still a blank slate. You are nothing. You need to learn to actually for example, you want to work as a production engineer. You as a fresh grad, you just finished your study. You are, well, I have to work, so you want to work. But first, you have to learn a lot of things before you can actually become a full-fledged. You have to first you have to accept. You have to open yourself to new challenges. Second, you have to be very curious. And second thing, working is actually have their own challenges, so you have to accept that. Another one is Another one is that you have to be positive yourself. Okay, because working is not like when studying you are very you're in your box, so you need to be out of the box, something new. So that is my answer for that question.